we are going to be installing OpenFaaS Edge into an air gap. And in order to do that, we need to prepare, first of all, a couple of VMs. One will be online, running Rocky Linux. So it's meant to be a RHEL-like system that supports RPMs. Then we're going to have another system that will be offline after we've copied some files in. We will also fetch a bunch of OCI images that are required to run OpenFaaS Edge, and to point 3, we'll then get them over to that offline machine, check that we can't get to the internet, restore everything, and then deploy a sample function. Now this is not going to be a 2-minute demo. This is not a executive pitch. This is the long way round, but we're going to do everything that is needed. So we can see that I've used our slicer tool here to boot up 2 VMs using Firecracker. They're both running Rocky Linux. We'll use the first one to get hold of everything that we need. Now there are instructions in the OpenFaaS docs, that's what I'm going to be referring to. And it starts off really by showing you how to get this plugin, which does a lot of the work for us. And it's part of FaaS CLI. Once we have that, the next thing that we can do is download all of the containers that we need for our compose file. And I would imagine if you're going to be doing this in an air gap, you've already done an installation somewhere, you have a compose file on hand, and you know exactly what you want and what you don't. However, if that is not the case, we can fetch one quite quickly from the installation bundle, and then that will get extracted to a local folder. However, inside there, at this particular path, we're going to see the default one. Okay, so now what we want to do is just slightly adapt our download command to use that file instead. And we can see it's identified the images that were in there in the compose. It's now downloading them one by one to tar files. And this is in the format that can be imported, again, directly into Containerd, or it can be imported into a registry on the air-gapped network. So we've got all of those. What we're probably going to want as well is a couple of sample functions. And again, you're very unlikely to be using just a simple sample like this. You're probably going to have your own functions that you've engineered in your team, but for now we'll get the env function and node info from the store, as you can see there. So we'll run this command again, just downloading the images, and that last part is like the name. So these are all being put in a folder called images, and then within that we've got a folder called functions and a folder called OpenFaaS Edge. And if there was other stuff you wanted to download, you could download into multiple different folders. So take a look at images. We've basically got the subfolder, each of the tars, and there's a manifest. And then this manifest is used on the other side in the private machine in order to do what we need to do to restore them back. All right, so then we'd go ahead and transfer them into the machine. However, there's a couple of more things that we want for the Red Hat / Rocky Linux approach. So I'm just going to go all the way down to here. And what it's telling us is we want to download the RPM for OpenFaaS Edge. Now in this case, we'll just maybe call this RPMs. We're distributing it inside of a container image, just a single file, the RPM, and you can use this command to grab it. If you want a specific version instead of a latest, you can actually put the tag in here. You see there, :218. You can put 0 to 19 if that's the one that you wanted. And then there's a command as well that you can use to check what other versions are available. So let's see what we got. Yeah, we just got the one RPM. Next, we're starting to think about that air-gapped machine, which is Rocky 2 here. Now, at the moment, it is internet connected. However, we will drop the default route on that, And we could probably do that already, and that will simulate the air gap. So, and then we'll actually drop it even further a little later. So IP root delete default. And then if we try and get out to Google or something, it's just not available. Okay. Now, if you're in the air gap, I'm assuming you have some way of getting RPMs there that you need for other software that you want. However, if that's not the case, you're able to actually go ahead and download more RPMs. So this command is quite clever. What it does is it will resolve anything that is required to install OpenFaaS Edge by examining the RPM. It will go down the whole tree of all the dependencies that could be needed, and it will pull them in. So we run this command, and this is going off 125 RPMs. They're all now in this folder. And I believe we're at the point now where we can go and copy this across. And what I'll do is I'll use an intermediate machine. Just make sure we've not got any RPM folders. And we'll copy from Rocky at 192.2. That RPM folder, we're going to bring it down to my workstation. Let's go RPMs. Pretty quick, as you'd expect. And then we're going to copy that from my machine up to the home directory of the offline machine. Okay, and that is not internet connected. So at this point, we have everything required to go and install the package. So we should just be able to run this command now. Okay, yeah, we're in this folder. And I'm also going to allow erasing, because sometimes what you get is a slight conflict between the curl that's in the system and the curl that is a dependency here. We'll go back and add that in this documentation. And so this is completely offline now. Effectively, it can't reach the internet. Yes, I can copy something from my local machine. We can take this even one step further in a second. Okay, so RPMQ OpenFaaS Edge. You can see it's installed on the system and it's available. So we'll now get this to the point where we're fully offline, and we'll go to, this is a feature that's built into Slicer, the VM management tool here. Lets me go into any of these machines over a socket rather than through the network. So now I'm fully connected in, and I can take that link down for Ethernet 0, down ETH 0. And we could have well done this before. We didn't have to wait until after I'd installed the RPMs. It would have worked completely offline. So just do a quick ping, take the link down. Oh, I'm in the wrong one, aren't I? I'm in Rocky 1. Let's come out of that. That's the one we want. IP link set. ETH0 down. Okay, yeah. Now it's not responding. And conversely, let's just fix what we did on the other one. So I didn't mean to set that one down. Let's get that one back up again. Great. So we're completely offline. And we have these RPMs, but we're still missing our OpenFaaS binaries. So we'll come back up for a second, and we'll have a look at where we saved all their OpenFaaS stuff. So we saved it into this folder called images. Let's go and copy images to here, and we'll copy all of those images over to .3. And I think we could also do with OpenFaaS on that machine, so we can do the restoration. So I'm going to get it on my host, and I'm going to copy it over to the other one that's effectively is offline. I mean, it's not got internet connectivity, you're just on the local network. Okay, so we've got OpenFaaS. That's great. We've done our installation. We still have a couple of steps regarding like the license, etc. But for now, what we'll do is restore our images. So we can put these into the containerd library, or we can put these into a registry that is running directly on the machine on localhost, or running on another machine that's accessible within the air gap. That's up to you. In this instance, I'm going to start off by restoring the first set of images. These are all the core ones. That's very quick actually. And now for the second one, take a look at what is different. We're putting the functions into the OpenFaaS FN namespace. That's actually where they belong. Great, so that's all done. We then need a license for this. So we'll make a directory for that. And then we'll create the license. This would have been given to you when you purchased OpenFaaS Edge. And now I'm just creating that license file. So the next thing is the final thing, which is to do the installation. And we talk about different examples and options here. So if you have an air-gapped DNS server in the same network, you can specify that. The default is to use Google's, and you will not be able to reach that if you truly are in an air gap. That won't be accessible. We probably also want a pull policy of if not present if we're coming out of our own library. If we're coming out of a private registry on the machine or in the network, we don't need that. But we've got both levels of isolation here. So therefore, I want to perform this installation now with a local DNS server, and if not present as a pull policy. Next, we're going to go take a look at the journal. The journal is basically saying we started up. Great. Can we log in? We already logged in. That's good too. Okay, so we had that stack YAML. I'm going to copy that across. And again, I'll set this link down because I don't think we need to copy anything in now. So it can't get to the internet. We can't ping it either. We should be completely offline now, and we're just connected through that console. So FaaS CLI deploy. Both deployed. Let's go try the env function. There you go, it worked. Gave it some info back and node info. Okay, and then within FASD, we have this new service command. So we can look at what's started and deployed, how much RAM and CPU it's using. Very little here. And then we can actually also put that in the OpenFaaS FN namespace if we want to look at our functions. And look at things like logs for the gateway. So if you do run into a problem, maybe you missed a step, these logs in the gateway would probably give you a good idea of what's happening there. So that was a complete air-gapped deployment. And there's not really much more to think of from here. The system is deployed, it's running. We used RPM to install it. If you are a Debian user, we're working on a deb package that would work in exactly the same way. However, we already have an example of what you do for Debian. So at the moment, it's a case of you expand the installation bundle SCP or copy on a USB stick that over to the Debian/Ubuntu machine, and you're good to go in the same way I just showed you. So that is offline installation. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any questions, please reach out to us, contact@openfaas.com. Thanks.